We go next to the Talk Royal correspondent, that is Rupert Bell, about this big story today that says Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle are going to have their £100 million deal with Netflix scrapped. The streamer apparently is not going to renew their contract when it expires in September. That's after it's understood the shows to have flopped. Rupert, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
How bad is this for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? Is this inevitable, or do you think that someone will want to deal with them somewhere because they are still a big brand?
Look, they create interest, but if your history of making programs has not been as successful as they thought, you're taking a bit of a risk. You saw when Spotify launched, and then we had a podcast, and that flopped, and then Meghan had to go, I don't know whether cap in hand, to another podcast company to produce what I have to say was a pretty boring podcast series. So when it look at their Netflix track record, of course, we had the documentary about leaving the royal family, and that was definitely going to always create eyeballs because that's been their brand. It's to have a pop at the royal family, hence the reason why Harry produced the book Spare. But since then, we've had a very underwhelming polo documentary, which, of course, Harry's into polo, but talk about it being niche. And actually, again, that was as dull as Dishwater. And then you have the As Ever cooking programme, which, again, was even duller than Dishwater. So I have to say it hasn't gone well. Now, some people may have liked it, whether I'm the target market, but I do come from an equestrian background, so I could have given the polo program some credence if it was, but it just turned into a lot of ego, sort of rather American egos all vying for camera, and we never saw Harry and Meghan. So really their track record is not worth 100 million at the moment, and I think given that Netflix is tightening belts, they've got to look at where they spend their money. Now if someone else comes along, yes, but it won't be in that kind of numbers. It may be on a, right, what have you got? And let's pay you per programme.
And I think, Rupert, this comes to the crux of it, doesn't it? Which is when people are now tuning in, especially in the world that we live in where you've got online streamers and YouTubers making a fortune as well, people are looking for personality. They want to feel that they're seeing the person behind the screen. And like what you say, with Meghan's cooking show, it turned out that wasn't even her kitchen. It all looks very staged, very scripted, and Harry looks like he's unable to relax in front of a camera, something that shouldn't shock us when he so quickly and so angrily constantly derided the media throughout his teenage years and 20s. So is it a case of just until they're willing to get real and try and relax and be human, that simply the public are just going to get bored and tuned out?
Well, we've got another series of the cooking programme, because they did announce that they've recorded another one. That was done before the first one came out. And I have to say, I'm not holding my breath. I'm presuming, where's she going to go from flour sprinkles, which was the only thing I seemed to, the only take away from it, and chopping up fruit. And, you know, I'd be interesting. But as you say, it was so staged. And, you know, good cooking shows are ones where you can feel the passion of the chef or whoever is cooking actually transmits their enthusiasm for it. All the good ones are about that. This just didn't seem to have anything other than, I've got to look at the camera, I'm interviewing somebody, but I'm not really interviewing somebody, I'm just talking at them. And that is not what worked. And the same with her podcast series. You feel like she was talking at the guests. And until she learns to actually try and make it about who she's got with her, and then the cooking maybe a hint, something to link it to, then maybe there is some mileage. But her products that she's launched, you know, are not going down 100 miles an hour. So the whole thing is badly thought out. And Netflix will, if they do renew it, and yes, we're hearing they may not, it will be, I'm sure, on a hugely different financial arrangement, which won't be sit comfortably with the Sussex's lifestyle, which is an expensive one.
And obviously, Rupert, this comes amongst a time when we had a lot of briefing into the paper that representatives from His Royal Highness, the King, as well as Prince Harry, have been meeting in secret and in private, although we now know about it, so it wasn't that secret or that private in the end, to try and find some reconciliation, to try and find a way of repairing the relationship. But interestingly, seemingly just between Prince Harry and the royal family. I mean, does does the collapse of the media career essentially help Prince Harry try and rebuild the relationship with his family, which I actually really want to see? No father and son should ever be estranged. And those grandchildren of His Royal Highnesses, the children of Prince Harry, are missing out on having a chance to get to know a grandfather and their step-grandmother, which I think is a great shame too. And obviously there's also been the rumours that we're seeing more and more events where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle appear to be doing their own thing and not necessarily seen together. There's rumours that maybe there is a strain in that relationship too. I mean, do we know any further updates in terms of how things are looking for the repairing of the relationship between the royal family and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle?
I would suggest it's a long way to go for that to be repaired. I think at the moment they would, I mean, the King would love to restore his relationship with his son. It was interesting that the other day Harry did go to did that walk through the landmines in memory of his mother, and that's what he's good at. And he was on his own, and I absolutely applaud him from that. That was what he was known for, and I think we'll see more of that. And presumably that trip would have, there would have been some form of liaison to say, look, I'm going off there, because it wasn't straightforward. So people just to understand. But that's what he was good at, and that's a shame, and that's what the royal family have missed. But there's absolutely no chance that Meghan really wants to set foot in this country again. I'm absolutely convinced about that. Yet, at the same time, she's absolutely touting her link to the royal family. Everything is as ever, and royalty, British things, jam, all trying to create this sort of exclusive British lifestyle. So the hypocrisy is writ large there. But at the same time, that's all they've got to market themselves on, is their link to the royal family. Because at the moment, whatever Meghan's done, yes, it gets views, but it's not actually hitting the spot in terms of people actually enjoying it. And that's their problem. But for Harry, I think he's in a sort of rudderless no man's land kind of situation, not sure what he's doing now he's turned 40, because he's done all the popping at the royal family, but if he wants to repair his damage, he can't do that anymore, because that will close the door as soon as it was opened.
And as you say, Rupert, the Prince Harry I want to see is the Prince Harry I remember growing up, the man who fought tooth and nail to be allowed to go and serve on the front line in secret so he could actually protect this nation. The man, whilst on camera, got up and sprinted off to a helicopter when the alarm went off and the base was under attack. The Prince Harry, therefore, who showed us that he was different, he was a modern royal, that he didn't want his title to get in the way of his entitlement to be allowed to do his duty and his service for his country. And I thought that was so refreshing, alongside obviously his brother, Prince William, who obviously also actually served on the front line in the military too. And I think it's just a great shame that Harry seems to be lost. And I think that if that Harry can come back, as you say, with the memory of his mother walking through those landmines, the British people will actually very quickly, I think, willing to forgive and forget and embrace him, as long as I think his wife stays at home in America.
Well, this is the problem for him, because he's made his new life. I think he's fairly friendless. He's, cut links with many of his friends, and whereas Meghan also is, no family links with her family apart from her mother, it would seem. And for Harry, what link has he got with his extended family? It's pretty minimal at the moment, and that's sad for him. And because the royal family, for all its faults, at times is a pretty close-knit unit. Because they all know what they're going through and they look after one another. But at the moment, that's just not. He's created this problem, and somehow he's got to then find, I don't know, the will to say, look, I think I've screwed up here. And I need to get back to what I know I do best, and with your blessing. And at the moment, that's not likely to happen, because the trust between his brother is absolutely at rock bottom. The King is obviously pained. He would love to have his relationship with his son restored. And as you said, quite rightly, everyone would want that. But he has created this difficulty, and the lack of trust between him, his wife, and the rest of the royal family is a chasm that stretches from here to Los Angeles, and it's not closing.
Well, thank you so much. That's Talk's royal correspondent Rupert Bell. Thank you for joining us today regarding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle not having their £100 million deal with Netflix renewed. In fact, it's being scrapped as of September, that indeed is going to hurt the pockets.